It's 1:30. I'd like to call the meeting of the Traffic and Transportation Commission on Monday, October 15, 2012 to order. Let's have roll call, please. Commissioner Witcher.
Here, sir.
Commissioner Littlefield.
Present.
Commissioner Newton.
Here, sir.
Commissioner Hale.
Here, sir.
Commissioner Schuline.
Here.
Commissioner Jenkins.
Here.
Commissioner George.
Here.
Commissioner Yonkel.
Here.
Okay, all present and accounted for. I'd like to have a motion concerning the minutes of the September 17, 2012 meeting, please.
Move to approve.
We have a motion to approve from Commissioner Witcher and a seconded from Commissioner Jenkins. Yeah, I'm sorry. Second from Commissioner Jenkins. Okay, do we have any talk on this item? Okay. So we have a motion to approve the minutes from Commissioner Jenkins, from Commissioner Witcher. Let me start over again. We have a motion to approve the minutes of the September 17th, 2012 meeting from Commissioner Witcher, seconded by Commissioner Jenkins. May I have your votes, please? And George abstains. You have that? Okay. All right, the report on licensing will be this month, correct? This is October. Okay, can we have the report on license, taxis, and record services, please?
Hello, I'm Sergeant Bear. For the quarterly report for July, August, and September, on taxis and vans, we had 70 new driver's permits. We renewed 69 driver's permits. Driver transfers, we had 40. Duplicates, 10. We did 81 taxi inspections that passed, and we failed 1. On complaints, we worked 3 with 2 enforcement actions, 0 field inspections, and 2 citations, which were both driving on expired permits. On limousines, we had 12 new driver permits. We renewed 5 driver permits, had 1 driver transfer, 8 past limo inspections, and 1 complaint. On carriages, we had 1 new driver permit. We renewed 1 driver permit. We had 1 carriage inspection and 1 complaint, and 1 investigated.
Okay, if I could ask just a few, the one that, out of taxis, the one that failed out of the 81 that were inspected, could you tell what was wrong with that one?
They didn't have the lettering on the doors.
Okay, and so that was fixed, and then...
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then you talked about on the 3 complaints with 2 enforcement actions.
On the limousine, we had 1 executive limousine that was sitting outside the hotels acting like a taxi. Sergeant McCaleb worked it, and at the present time, there's no ordinance to cover this. On the carriage complaint, we got a complaint that D&D Carriage was working downtown in Bricktown. We talked to Cameo Carriage, and that was a private party, so they were within the ordinance.
Okay, and then on the taxis, you had 3 complaints with 2 enforcement?
Yes, 2 taxi drivers were driving on expired permits, and they were given a citation.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody else have any questions? All right, well, thank you very much for your hard work.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, there's no items on the consent docket, item number 4. We go to item number 5. A, the applicant is Oklahoma City Police Department Permits and ID Unit, all wards. The request is to consider issuing a written notice from the Oklahoma City Traffic and Transportation Commission to Castle Cab Taxi Service, Inc. for violation of Section 56-61 of the Oklahoma City Municipal Code. Can we have a staff summary, please?
Staff received a report from the Oklahoma City Police Department on September 17th regarding a reported violation of Section 56-61 of the Oklahoma City Municipal Code. A copy has been provided. Master Sergeant Bear and Lieutenant Hill will be here representing the police department on this issue today.
Okay, thank you very much. We have some citizens that like to speak. First of all, Tony Simpson, if I could have your name and address, please, and you have up to 5 minutes to talk.
My name is Tony Simpson. I am the owner of Castle Cab. I welcome you all here today. I'm not going to stand up here and blow smoke.
If I could have your actual address also, please.
It's 111 Bridger Trail.
Okay, thank you. All right, go ahead.
I'm here on a compliance check. I'm not here to blow smoke and mirrors to you. My system failed. Bottom line, there's no way I can deny or defend myself other than the problem has been corrected. I've scrapped my dispatch. I've started completely over. I've got a new system. It's working very well, and we haven't had any problems. And it's just a work in progress. And as of this time, I haven't had any problems. I've done random routine checks on my system. I've worked with Sergeant McCaleb and had him do random routine, 3 o'clock in the morning. He wasn't real happy with that, but he's still done it for me, part of it. And we haven't had any more problems. And I do believe that we have this problem resolved. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we also have Mike Davis. If you'd like to come forward, have your name and your address, please, and you have up to 5 minutes to talk.
My name is Mike Davis, 2457 Northwest 3rd Street, Oklahoma City. I'm here to state that the drivers downtown at the Sheridan cannot make a living anymore. We sit there for 8-10 hours, maybe get 1 or 2 calls from one of the hotels because of the corruption that's going on, paying off the bellman with Castle Cab. We sit there and we watch them get calls from the bellman and go around, pull around us, and just rub it in our face by pulling in and getting it. There used to be an ordinance where we couldn't pay the bellman in Chapter 56, and the bellman couldn't accept money. Somehow, a couple of years ago, that got taken off the books. We'd like to see that put back on. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Okay, and we have Justin Heistand, I believe. If you could come forward and give your name and your address, and you have up to 5 minutes to speak.
My name is Justin Heaston. Address is 2500 168th Avenue Southeast in Norman. And as Mike had said, it's a similar issue with the Castle Cab drivers paying off the bellhops and valet people, mostly at the Sheridan Renaissance and the Colcord Hotel. And on top of that, Prince had done it previously and still currently do it with the Skirvin Hotel. And as Mike had said, it prevents pretty much making the taxi stand by those hotels obsolete. They're not being utilized like the city wanted them to. And I would like to see, if possible, an ordinance put in to where it's against the ordinance for any driver or company to pay any part of the hotel, whether it be an employee or the hotel directly, to help curb that problem and make it fair for all drivers. That's it.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, can I have a motion concerning 5A, which is to consider the issuing of a written notice from the Traffic and Transportation Commission to Castle Cab? Oh, hold on 1 second, please.
If I may, the motion actually should be based on the purpose of the Commission's meeting today, which is to determine whether Castle Cab taxi service has violated Section 5661 of the Oklahoma Municipal Code 2010, and whether, therefore, notice should be sent.
Okay, so how would you, do you have that down there somewhere?
If you look on the second page, second paragraph, second sentence, it starts with the purpose of the Commission's hearing is to determine that sentence.
Okay, for that sentence.
Before we do a motion, would it be possible to hear from the officers that investigated so that we can know if they have indeed violated?
Okay.
The Commission is to hear all relevant evidence. So, absolutely, that would be appropriate.
Okay, would you all like to come up and make sure to fill out one of the forms later, and then give your name and address, please?
I'm Lieutenant Quinna Hill, OCPD 701 Colcord Drive, Oklahoma City. In response to the situation with Castle Cab, we were made aware of the situation through repeated calls to Castle Cab for information and from customers requesting service that could not get through. Sergeant McCaleb did spot checks on the phone on several days span at different times of the day, and either received a full mailbox rollover message for the company line or no answer at all, the mailbox full or no answer whatsoever, at which point we drafted the letter and submitted it. What are the specific questions? Okay, that's when we made the notification and requested direction on how we needed to proceed and to correct the situation. And with working with Mr. Chai and Jill Jackson, we were directed to draft the letter and to make the notifications. We sent out a certified letter to notify Castle Cabs of the situation. That was received both by hand and through the mail too, I believe. We have a certified letter receipt. So the proper notification was done. And the gentleman that runs the cab that spoke earlier, he's been very helpful in trying to correct the situation. Sergeant McCaleb is off due to illness right now, and he can't give you specifics on exactly what steps have been taken, but he said that the owner was working very diligently to try to fix things. And it will, of course, remain to be seen through time as to whether or not it is corrected, but we will stay on top of it.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Okay, so we're going to reword the item that's up for a motion okay, would you have something to say first?
Well, the action required portion is fine, as long as for the determination, just add for the determination of a violation. Right after the word "for" in that sentence.
Right after "for," add what? For the termination of a violation?
For the determination that a violation of Chapter 56-61 of the Oklahoma City Municipal Code 2010 occurred.
For the determination of a violation? Is that what you said? I'm sorry.
For the determination that a violation.
For determining that. Okay?
And then continue on with that and end with occurred.
At the end. Okay, thank you very much, Counsel. Okay, so item 5A is worded for asking if anybody has a motion to approve or not approve issuing a written notice from the Oklahoma City Traffic and Transportation Commission to Castle Cab Taxi Service, Inc. for the determination that a violation of Section 5661 of the Oklahoma City Municipal Code 2010 occurred. Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the issuance of a written notice.
I'll second.
We have a motion to approve from Commissioner Witcher, and seconded by Commissioner Schuline. Okay. Do we have any talk on this item?
Yes. For whoever, council or staff who is aware, did we in fact remove from the ordinance that that prohibits paying bellmen or staff in a hotel?
Well, that might be just a second talk afterwards. I think the item for talk is, did they violate having a 24/7 call center? Okay,
I'll rephrase the question. Is there anything in 5661 that, because the motion is they violated 5661. So the reason I asked my original question is, if there's something in 5661 about paying hotel staff, then that would still be valid.
Right, if we found out from the law enforcement that it might have occurred. All we had is just some citizens making public comment.
Fair enough.
So I think that the violation is the 24/7 call center, is what we're talking about today.
Okey-doke. And also, is it part of the ordinance that there has to be a place of business that's 24/7 manned? And
Right, that's my understanding, is that they have to have a phone number that's listed, that somebody answers 24/7, so they can do a radio dispatch of a cab.
okay, so there has to be a place of business that
Correct.
is manned. Okay, so Mr. Simpson, you did say that your system has been reworked, but do you have a permanent place of business where somebody is sitting there answering the phone 24
Yes, sir.
hours a day?
Yes, sir, I do.
Which was the problem that they found out, that you didn't have that.
The problem was the dispatch was inadequate. You know as well as I do, good help's hard to find. You know, as you can see, the taxi industry has changed, everything around it has evolved. Everything changes with it. If it doesn't, we die. That's just a given. You get somebody in there that doesn't care for the industry, that doesn't care what happens to it, they throw it down. And that's what happened. I've got dispatches at 3 o'clock in the morning. I get my personal number. A lot of the guys have it. They call me directly. Why is the phone not ringing? I call it. I don't know what happened. Get down there. They've left the building open. They just walked off and quit. No notification, no nothing. There's no way to protect yourself. The only thing I can do is try to revamp, restructure, to where that doesn't happen again.
Okay, anything else? Anybody else have questions or comments?
I have a question for maybe legal or city staff. This is not to determine whether or not they are against the regulation. This is just to start the process, official process of finding that out. Is that right? I mean, we're not determining whether they...
No, you actually are making a determination. Hearing is to determine whether Castle Cab Service Incorporated has violated 56-61. So you are making a determination. If I can help at all, if you would, in your packet, you will see a letter. It's actually a memorandum from Mark McCaleb. If you'll go to that bottom paragraph, I think that...
What page? Oh, okay, the letter.
It's the one with the city memorandum. Page 7. Based on the fact that Castle Cab is not answering calls for service and doesn't appear to have an active dispatching system, it's my opinion Castle Cab is failing to provide taxi service to the public in accordance with OKC Municipal Code 56-61. That's essentially the allegation here. You go to the code, 56-61, the end of A, licensee shall maintain a central place of business, which is kept open 24 hours a day for the purposes of receiving calls and dispatching taxis. Then if you also look to section sub D, the licensee shall answer all calls received for service inside the city as soon as it can do so. And if the requested service cannot be rendered within a reasonable time, the licensee shall then notify the prospective passengers how long it will be before the call can be answered. Largely those two portions, in addition to the allegation, are what we're dealing with. You couple that with the admission that was made earlier, that seems to be the evidence before this body, and a determination is actually called for here. Now, keeping that in mind, this is the first instance, and a written notice of violation is all that would be at issue. There is no fee for a first-time violation for this commission.
Okay. Then what does it mean when it says that you recommend that we direct Castle Cab to respond to the Oklahoma City Police Department's permits and investigation finding? I mean, that's in order to ascertain whether the license has been violated. The staff is recommending that we send a letter to them.
Right. If
So
we
they-
find that they did violate, then we, as the Traffic Commission, send out a letter
Okay.
saying we have found that you did violate, and then they would have to report basically what he just said to us, to them formally of what they've done to fix the problem,
Okay.
is what I think.
I think it's a good point what you just raised. However, the reality of this hearing is for a determination.
Okay, gotcha. And it's irregardless of whether or not they fixed the problem, it's just what we believe that there was a problem at some point or not.
You're to make a determination as to the facts that were presented before you by the applicant.
At some point in the past, they were in violation.
Yes, the date and time specific as relates
As
to
related
the
on
allegation.
Okay.
You have something?
I'd like to, and I suppose that it's the police department that would answer this. There's reference made into the staff report about the license year. Is that something that's specific to each different company? That every company has a different duration of their license?
I'm not sure what you're looking for.
They normally, all the license for vehicle for hire services come due.
I'm sorry.
Excuse me. The licenses come due at the same time every year, so it's licensing year.
For every
Yeah,
cab company?
end of
it's at the
June.
End of June, okay.
It's like our fiscal year, July 1st.
Okay, very good. So, and the reason I ask that is if it says, for the first violation in any given license year, written notice will be the only action taken. And so, just to the commission, if we approve this determination, then it's on record, and even though it may have been corrected, if there's another violation or another issue within this licensing year, then we can pursue something more stringent.
Right. Okay. Do we have any more talk on this item? Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Witcher to approve issuing a written notice from the Oklahoma City Traffic and Transportation Commission to Castle Cab Taxi Service for a violation of Section 5661 of the Oklahoma City Municipal Code, and is seconded by Commissioner Schuline. Okay, can I have your votes, please? Okay, motion's approved. All right, thank you all. Now just talk about the other issues that were brought up, more of a public comment kind of talk, if we could just have that. There is nothing in the rules right now that says you can't pay somebody off to get cab service that I'm aware of. In all of our talks the last 3-4 years in our taxi sub meetings, I don't even recall that coming up or being taken out, so I don't recall it ever being in there. My first comment would be just to make sure that the general manager or the owner of those hotels are aware of what the bellhops are doing, and if that is something that they really want done. That would be my first recommendation, is that the owner of any company that sees that, make sure that the general manager be aware of what's going on by the bellhops, and if it's something that they want to happen. You have something, Counsel?
Well, in reference to your comments you made about whether that's lawful or not, it may not be addressed in this specific chapter of the code. However, I do have confidence that that is addressed in the code or in the state statutes. So I just wanted that to be noted, that that issue is not before this commission right now, and that would require a legal opinion that is not being stated either.
Correct. It was just a general comment back to them saying if they feel that something's not right, to go ahead and go back to, have the owners go back to the owners of those places and just see if that's what it is. If you want to make a formal complaint, then I would put it in writing and send it over to our section, and then we could go through the same kind of process if it's a violation. Is that right, Counsel? Would that be appropriate? Is that how they would do that?
Can they file a complaint?
Yes.
They can file a complaint.
Then they would file it just like anything else. They would file the complaint, and they'd research it, and it would come to us formally if it is a violation.
If it's a complaint, it should be vetted within the normal course.
Right. Thank you, Counsel. Yes, ma'am.
I was just going to let you know that we do have language in the revisions, proposed revisions for Chapter 56 that will cover payment to the bellhop and also payment from the cab drivers in such instances as being illegal.
Okay, so in the draft form, there is something being put
We
in
worked that
just
into
for
our
this
latest
kind of
revision
issue.
that is
Right.
still being,
Sure, it's being vetted. Okay.
I have a question for you. Please stand. If that, who approves that, or what would be the timeline on that? Is that, it ends up going through Planning Commission and City Council, or through Traffic Commission and the City Council, or how does that work?
for municipal ordinance revisions.
Yes, it will, whenever Section 56 is coming up, it'll come to us, and then,
There's a standard process for that,
Yeah,
and I'm sure it would take a bit.
okay.
well, yeah, and
I'll be happy to get you more detail.
Thank you.
What it is that it does come to us, and we review it, and then it goes to City Council.
City Council, right.
Yeah. Captain, did
So
you wanna say
that would be something that somebody that wanted that language in there, they could lobby city councilmen or city council people and try to have that put in, make sure that stays
Well,
in.
and they also would talk to us, too. They could talk to us as starting that process.
Right.
Captain, you had something?
Yeah, if they want it in there, the best way to do it is get it in advance. If like it comes to the Traffic Commission, for them to hear it here, because once it leaves here and goes to council, it's set 1 week for introduction, 2nd week for public hearing, 3rd week for final vote. And if it's changed anywhere in there, it goes back to the start of the process, back to here, back to council.
Oh, I got
So
you.
you want to get the
Want to get
finalized
that
version
here.
done here.
Right. So the timeline on that, do we know?
We've been
Is it-
working on it for quite a while. We have a subcommittee that's made up of a group of interested, everybody that basically is affected by it. We've been working on it for a year and a half or more. So,
Right.
yeah, I believe it's
Right.
currently with Jill in the municipal counselor's office. She's coordinating all the subcommittee feedback and information and
Right.
trying to get a working document.
Yeah, just 2 to 3 years ago, we redid Section 56 based upon the taxi sub-work that was done.
Gotcha.
And a few other housekeeping items. Since that went out, there's been other items that have come up that's been staffed and eventually will come to us. And this, and what you're saying is that's one of the items
Yes.
that's being staffed.
Yes, because with all the new taxi companies, it's really become a big issue. So basically, when we see problems coming into our office, we try to address them with the revisions to give us some
Are the
means of dealing with it.
Are there public meetings for the taxi community to be involved in? I mean, how do they become involved in that process?
On the prior revisions that we did, we actually had the taxi industry involved in the drafting of the revisions. This time, I believe we're doing it with just city, and then
Right.
they're going to draft it, and then industry will be brought into the loop at that point. But we're going to get an initial rough draft
Right.
first.
But yeah, this is still at the city
Still
work being
several
done. It
months
hasn't,
at least away.
right.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Yes, sir, you'd like to come back up? You have a couple more minutes off of your time limit. Just restate your name and address again for us, please.
I want to...
If you could restate your name and address
Yes,
again.
sir. Mike Davis, 2457 Northwest 3rd Street, Oklahoma City. I would like to make the commission here aware that there's going to be some violence downtown if there's not put a hold to this stuff, because it is hurting our livelihoods to make a comfortable living of any kind. And I would suggest that somebody does a big investigation on this and get this reprimanded, because I don't know about the rest of the companies, but I can tell you about our drivers. We're ready to boycott all the hotels downtown because of this going on. And that means when you have a big convention come in, we're not going to work it. I'm done.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Yes, ma'am. Make sure to fill out one of the forms afterwards, please, and state your name and your address, and you have up to 5 minutes.
Tawana Valencia, 3511 Charleston Road, Norman, owner A1 Taxi. Does that not fall under solicitation? Why would that not fall under solicitation? That's what that is. You're soliciting.
And again, what council has recommended to us, and we recommended to you, is file a formal complaint, and they'll vet it through the system. And if that's the
just a comment
violation.
or a
No,
thinking
that's a
on
very
that.
good point. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Any other talk on this ad hoc kind of issue? Very good. Okay, let's move now to item 5B. Applicant Roger Andrews, GEF Investments, LLC, 107 Northwest 14th Street, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, 73103-4603, to consider an application for a certificate of public convenience and necessity from Roger Andrews, GEF Investment, LLC, doing business as Checker Cab to operate 35 vehicles in taxi service. Mr. Andrews, can I have your name and address, and you have up to 5 minutes.
Roger Andrews, Checker Cab Company, 107 Northwest 14th in Oklahoma City, 73103. We need these cabs. We're going to operate a premium service separate from our other service, and we have customers that need this service at the downtown hotels and the airport that they don't have access to our other vehicles right now. We've kind of been squeezed out in those locations, so that's basically what we need those permits for.
All right, thank you very much. Can we have staff summary, please?
The Supervisor of Permits and Licenses has forwarded the accompanying application from GEF Investments for a certificate of public conveyance and necessity to operate 35 vehicles in taxi service. Staff recommends approval of the application for a certificate of public convenience and necessity at this time.
Thank you very much. Do we have a motion concerning item 5B?
I move that the application be approved.
Okay, we have a motion to approve from Commissioner Jenkins,
Second?
and we have a second from Commissioner George. Do we have any talk on this item?
Mr. Andrews? Just, first question is just kind of out of curiosity. You're saying that you need another service because you're getting squeezed out. You already have a cab company.
We mainly transport senior citizens, disabled people, grandma going to the grocery store, things of that nature.
What's the name of that?
Yellow Cab Company.
Okay, that's what I thought. And then, so Checker Cab, I mean, kind of a famous name. Is that do you get to buy the rights to use that in a particular region?
Checker Cab was purchased back in the 50s by Yellow Cab, yes.
I see, okay. All right, thank you.
Sir, if you would, you mentioned premium service. What's the difference than regular taxi service?
Well, we're going to mainly work the airports and the downtown hotels, similar to some of the other cab companies are doing currently. Sometimes you run into a problem where if it's all dispatched together, you have a vehicle that picks up an individual, say a detox, and then he transports them, and then he's assigned a call at a downtown hotel, and a business person comes out, and perhaps there's a little issue if he hasn't had time to air out the vehicle, things of that nature.
So would Checker Cab operate out of the same dispatch as Yellow Cab, and they would just dispatch Checker to that kind of call compared to a Yellow Cab to the other call?
Checker will be independent. They will be working the airport and some of the hotels in Oklahoma City.
But they'll still have radio call and still have a dispatch center?
Yes.
And I would assume that they will accept a call to the DCOX?
Yes, we have a 24/7, 365 call center, computerized dispatch.
But just to make sure, going in with this issue we just talked about with 5A, if you got a call at 11 o'clock at night to the DCOX and you got to call Checker Cab, was the number dialed, you would dispatch a checker cab?
If there's one available, we because of the way our dispatch works, the closest vehicle, we have a global positioning satellite system. When the call is entered, that system immediately searches for the closest vehicle for service purposes.
Of checker cab?
Either cab company.
So it's going to be the same phone number, same dispatch for yellow and
Yes.
checker?
Well, it's the same call center, yes.
Okay, right. So what you're saying is, inside your own operation, you would reserve checker cab for the premium service that you're talking about, and yellow cab would take the general calls?
Well, I mean, they could
Unless there's no
back
yellow.
up checker if there's not a checker cab available.
And just the opposite also,
Yes.
right? If all the yellow's out on dispatch and a
Right.
checker cab is not doing a premium service,
Right.
they would take a normal call.
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Any other questions, concerns?
I have a question. I'm still having confusion in distinguishing between the two cabs, and why can't you use yellow cab to serve the same purpose?
Because, for instance, we have, say, someone coming in from someone that, a customer or somebody, say, perhaps our CPA or our attorney, they're coming in from business, maybe with another company, but still they would like to use our service. And there are so many cabs at the airport now that most of the time you won't find a yellow cab up on the line because you have a different rate. Yellow cab is cheaper than all the other cab companies, so our drivers cannot afford to sit at the airport as long as the other companies can. So if a customer comes out, there's not a yellow cab there, and we have a lot of people over the years that have gotten used to ride, with yellow cab, well, we can have our checker cabs working at the airport, and we'll have a better chance to have someone up there to load them. But also, we have certain accounts that, they just kind of need a little more of a premium service. When we're in the downtown area, we want to look as sharp as we can for the business customers. Okay, thank you.
I know it's not our job to deal with the airport, but are the same rules still applying out at the airport where you can have a certain number, only limited number of cabs from a given company in the queue?
It's first come, first serve. So if XYZ has 10 cabs out there, they can be the first 10 to load in the morning.
Okay.
Okay, do we have any more comments on item 5B? Do you have comments? Okay. Okay, all right, so we're all done with you. Thank you very much. Yes, sir. If you could come up, please. State your name and your address, please.
Davis, 2457 Northwest 3rd Street, Oklahoma City. I used to be an airport cab driver. When Thunder Cab came in, they flooded the airport with 58 permits this year, not just a small amount, and I'm not an airport cab driver anymore because I'm not going to sit out there for all day long and just get one or two runs because there's so many cabs out there and he wants to put more out there. I don't get it.
Okay. Yes, sir, did you have something?
It's my understanding that each company is allotted a certain number of spaces. Is that correct? At the airport?
Well, my understanding from previous talk, from what we're hearing, what the airport does is they allow a certain amount of permits per company. So they open it up now that they have as many permits as you want? Okay. And you have to pay for those permits, from what I understand. Isn't it $500, or was it, now it's $600? $650, so. Sure. Very good, thank you, sir. So, So the update from the last time we talked about this, it's now $650 for a permit, and the airport is now allowing any taxi to go ahead and do it. A couple years ago, they were limiting it to X amount per cab company. Okay, do we have any other talk on this item? Yes, ma'am.
If that's the case, who determines if that's good, bad, governs it, talks to the airport? Where do these folks go to take that issue up?
The airport issue? Yeah, the owners would go out to the airport authority, and from what I understand, there's an actual board that monitors the airport operation, that they could actually go there. Right, so if they have something, they could go to the person that issues the permit, and if they don't like that, they can go to the airport authority board that runs the airport. Okay? Any other talk about item 5B? Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Jenkins. Oh, as you were, I'm sorry. Yes, sir. Could you make sure to fill out a green form, and then let me have your name and your address, and you have up to 5 minutes to talk.
My name is Jafar Najm. I'm the CEO of Thundercab. So quickly off the bat, I'd just like to correct the gentleman over here that Thundercab has never carried more than 34 airport stickers. That's the max we carry. That's what we think is needed within this Oklahoma City airport, where we only have 60-plus scheduled flights. Secondly, as far as the question, Commissioner, that you asked, that is the obligation of each company. No one requires or have asked or forced these drivers to sit at the airport. Companies have to generate business. They have to go out and get accounts. They have to generate business in this big city outside where these drivers are fully occupied and they can make a decent living. Opening a cab company does not mean, let me open 10 cab company, all 10 go to the airport, here's the keys, go sit over there, whatever you make, you make. Or here's the Sheraton stand, that's all you got to do. And that's how these companies are popping up. Naturally, it's going to flood it out. Naturally, after a week and a half, they're going to complain, hey, guess what? I was 61st in the line. Well, no one asked you to be over there. Go work the city. And I'm sure that Mr. Andrews would agree with me totally. You have a company, let's say you have a fleet of 150. 150 cannot go to the airport. It's up to the owners to decide, okay, we're only going to issue 30, 32. The rest are city vehicles. They work at the city. But once this race starts off, because to make the money, you only have 6 spots at the airport. You don't have 60 spots to make the money. The money line, you can only have 6 cabs at a time. And this airport is not Chicago. This is not O'Hare. This is not DFW. So I think the onus is on the owners of these companies who are so happy-go-lucky Harry opening these companies right, left, and center, and we come back to the same point, that these companies are not operating as a full-fledged company. Because the company's obligation is, go get the accounts. You don't have to solicit at Sheraton. Sheraton will call you at the dispatch center. Our drivers don't pay a dime. They don't have a dime. If they're going to go $26 to the airport from downtown, why would they pay $5 to the valet? For what? They load themselves. They unload the passenger themselves. What are they paying $5 for? For the only reason, because that company does not have any city business. That's the only place these drivers are going to make the money. And for that, this valet is going to come, pick the 5th cab out, tell them to come around. Here's the $5. They take the passenger. So it's not a question of how many permits are. Any owner, any conscientious owner of the company would know, you know what, I've got 30, I've got 20, I've got a fleet of 40. I don't need to put more vehicles that are airport. I need to back off from this. So we need to look at this industry as a whole, what all entails into it. It's not just having a cab of a different color with letters on it and a meter in it, and let's go running. Where are you going to run? Someone in the back, in the dispatch office, in the administration office, in the marketing office, They've got to find places for these drivers to run. And a lot of these drivers don't understand this. Then they have these complaints that, well, airport is flooded out. The city is not. There are people who need cabs in the city. We had to grow our business the same way. We had to go out, knock door to door, hey, here's our company, please try to use us, we'll make sure. We didn't make 5 companies out of it, that this serves the elite, then the second tier, then the, Oak Tree Golf Club, and this is the Nichols Golf Club. We made a cab company. We only need one thing to do. Do your best with all the vehicles, same way to everyone. Now, whether it's someone from Detox, whether it's someone from 10th and May at the grocery store, that's what we do. We don't know who we're picking up next. Our drivers don't know. They picked up Charles Barkley. He didn't know he was picking up Charles Barkley. Charles Barkley didn't say, hey, guess what? Get me an Escalade. I can't sit in a Dodge Caravan. He was very happy in Dodge Caravan for 2.5 hours going around shopping. And the last thing I would like to say is the ordinance, chapter 5660, does cover a tad bit on that soliciting piece, where the driver cannot leave 100 feet from the vehicle in any way to actually get a fare. So just if y'all could just look through that.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir. Would you like to come up and just a minute? He had his hand out, I saw. Please fill out a form when you're done. Let me have your name and your address, please.
My name is Aichak Abdilali. I live at 5317 Willow Cliff. And right now, when it comes to transportation, the market is flooded, causing within 1 year period, we went from 2 companies to 7, 8 companies. And the drivers, when they come to an owner, they get all those promises that they're going to make all this money. So you get an owner that goes from 1 car to 200 cars. Those drivers are left with 2 options, either to go to downtown or go to the airport, because the owner or the people that run the business, they don't take the time to go to companies or to hotels to let them know about their service. They don't go and market properly their service. All they do is they put those drivers on those cars. So you got a driver that has to support his family, has kids. He has no option but to do whatever he has to do. So you got people that don't know anything about marketing. They go and leave out their cards. And what they're trying to do, they're not trying to, do something illegal, something wrong. They're trying to work with any staff, with anybody that can give them a hand. And that's is kind of work in between those drivers and work between either the hotel staff, because the drivers are left, the companies, the only thing that, they don't guarantee you nothing. You are independent drivers, you don't work. None of those companies have employees that drive. When you're an independent contractor, you are on your own. The only thing we worry about, sir, is at the end of the week, you have to give me my tariff to cover my expenses. And that's how it goes here. So you got that person that he's sitting in the car for 12, 14, 16, 20 hours, and he goes home with $30. Not enough to even cover his gas, because that car, the Crown Vic or the town car he drives, it gets 10 miles per gallon. So you got a driver that he's lost, he doesn't have probably no skill to get another job, he's probably retired, he's probably has something that his back hurts or something. So he has nothing to do but to go and try to get his own business. If I open a company today and I found 100 people and I promised them, I said, okay, here's the deal. I guarantee you $300. Come work for me. And I come to you as city and I said, now I need 100 stickers. You guys will give it to me. And I think that's the issue, is not anticipating the market, letting whoever want to open a company, whoever wants to add 200 cabs, 300 cabs, here's the stickers, go add as many cars as you want. So he left it. So now you're promising those too many people to come and work for you, all this money, and at the end, they're sitting at the airport for 5 hours, not making no money. So what they do, everybody started fighting with each other. Everybody trying to go after each other. Everybody trying to go work with the hotel staff. Everybody try. But they have to do what they have to do to survive today. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Just remember the blue form when you're done. Have your name and your address, please. You have up to 5 minutes.
Billy Osborne, 9320 Mailer Place, Oklahoma City. In reference to the application before you for Checker Cab, unless I've misunderstood, I think I've heard Mr. Andrews tell you twice that it was a premium cab service. Twice he has said that if a cab is available, he'll send you one. In accordance to Chapter 56, he has to send a Checker Cab to that call. I have yet to hear him reassure any of you that that's what his intention is. I hope you take that into consideration before you pass this application.
Thank you. So, Mr. Andrews, if you could come up and just let me re-ask again, which I thought I asked, but I want to make sure that we understand.
You call, we will send a Checker Cab. And now that we've muddied the waters, Mr. Chai, are you all recommending passage? Do we meet the criteria of the ordinance?
Oh, yes.
All right, thank you very much.
So, yeah, just like we talked about.
We will send you a
last time
Checker
were
Cab. Now, we're starting with 5. We intend to grow so that we'll be more than happy to send you a Checker Cab.
Well, but the issue was, somebody calls the number, which is the central dispatch.
Yes.
If it was for this issue, you would send a yellow. If it was for this issue, you would send an actual checker. But if you were out of yellow, you could send checker here. And if you were out of checker, you could send yellow.
You call for a checker, you want a checker, you'll get a checker. And I can assure you we'll give at least as good a service as any of the other cab companies.
And is that the same number as a yellow cab, or is it its own different number?
It'll have its own separate number.
So it has its own separate number?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, any other talk on this item? We're good? Oh, yep, we have one more. Yes, sir? Can I have your name, your address, and make sure to fill out this form when you're done? Oops. Oh, you got
Dustin Rosser, 3901 Mallard. As has been brought up, cabs work airport or they work downtown, work the streets. When it's slow, yeah, the airport is flooded before we get 35 more coming out there. But working downtown, we sit on Sheridan Stand and you work 3 hotels there. You got the Skirvin, Sheridan, and the Renaissance. Well, now we got Prince Limousines taking over the Skirvin, parking in front of the hotel. And whenever they're all gone, no one's there, then they holler for a cab. And now we have Castle Cab, which is paying $300 a week to the hotels in order to reassure they get all the calls going to the airport. Anytime they call for a regular cab off that stand, it's going over to Lincoln or to the gas station, a $5, $6 run. Hey, I'll take whatever I can get right now because I don't pay these hotels $5 to work. It's not worth it. Now you sit out there for 8 to 10 hours, and I've done that several days in a row, not even loaded, besides accepting calls from the office. So that's all I'd like to bring up.
So the one issue you were talking about, you said something, there was a limo service that was sitting outside the Skirvin, is what you were saying?
Yeah, Prince Limousine, they sit right out front of the Skirvin now. They've been doing it now for months.
Taking fares straight out, not being on limo calls.
Well, most of the time, as I understand, they do airport runs. Where they operate as a taxi, I don't know.
Well, the note has been passed on. They have notes on. All right, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Just a second. Sir, you have about 1 more minute left on your time.
I Chuck Abdullahi, 5317 Willow Cliff Road, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. First of all, I want to correct him. It's not a limousine company. I'm the owner. It's a car service. When I went to Florida, there was one unique service. It was a black town car, well-dressed chauffeur, on time, sitting in front of the lobby. And when I saw that, the only thing I could think about was Oklahoma City. And how can I make it better? Because those drivers, whoever drives, will be considered as ambassador for the city. So when I came back here, I got a loan and I started with one town car. Within 1 year and 2 months, we grown to 7 cars. I can provide a letter or document from the hotels letting us sit in a private property. We work with the Renaissance, the Skirvin, the Concord, and the Hampton. We keep our cars clean at all time. Our drivers wear a suit at all time and a tie. Our cars have water and have newspaper, and we provide, and our prices are affordable. When I presented this idea to the GM, and when I talked to him about it, he said, yes, we would like our guests, our customers, to ride in a nicer car. When I came back in the city, this is one issue. There is 3 sections. If you want to open a company in transportation, either you open a shuttle company, you open a taxi company, or a limousine company. There is not a section for a car service. So when I came and asked them, I said, I want to open a car service because I have this great idea that it's really good and it's going to make Oklahoma good. And they said, no, just put it under the limousine. You should be okay. So I did, that's what I did. I put it in the limousine. I got insurance, general liability. We have stickers from the airport. And our business has grown since then. Never once broken the law, never once charged a customer, never once we're late for a customer. We have a policy. If we're 15 minutes late, the ride is free. The hotels know that. So you can't compare us to a taxi. The taxi mentality, and I apologize for saying that, you wake up one day, you don't care how you look. Okay, today I decide I'm going to go to work. And you go, you don't expect, when you have a fleet of 200 cabs, the inspection is once a year. That manager doesn't have the time to go inspect all those cars. You know that about 40% of those cars running with a bulb tire, those inspectors don't have the time to go inspect those cars. Yes. Princetown Car Service. Yes. Well, the company... Car service, yes. Thank you.
David Scott. Address is 1125 168th Street, east of Norman. I want to respond to Prince Town Cars. Okay, one, they do refuse service. Me as a cab driver, okay, I've had many people in my cab that they have refused. They called me up one time while they were there for a $5 call because they didn't want it. Castle Cab doing the same thing. They're all being paid off. I know for a fact because 2 years ago, I somewhat had the Skirvin, and I was tipping the bellman. Now, in light of this, I won't do it no more because it hurts the cab drivers. They're paying them off. They're paying them off. It's a mess. They're parking in handicaps. They're parking in Firestone and fire lanes. They're camping out where they want to camp out. They just think they can do anything they want to do. And we've got pictures and videos of it. And what he just told you, all of it is untrue, very untrue. And the cab drivers, we've got complaints from people who used to stay at Skirvin and won't stay there because they don't want to be shoved in a town car. I just wanted to let you guys know that.
Very good. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Chairman. As you're walking up, we'll go ahead and listen. Yes, sir.
Some of these things don't seem to be tied to the item that we have before us to vote on. So
Well, I was just letting it go because it'll be now or later in actual citizen comment, so I was just letting it go. I hope everybody understands why it's a hot issue, and we want to make sure here as much as we can, understanding that we still have a motion of 5B. Correct. Yes, ma'am. You get a form to fill out and have your name, address, and you have up to 5 minutes.
My name is Karen Eichhocht, and I live at 5317 Willow Cliff. And I run Prince Limousine every day. And we have a policy where we serve our hotels where we will take them to Bricktown for gratuity. We don't charge them a thing. We go anywhere in this city for those hotels. They are our top priority. They are my top priority. I have an appointment with them every morning at 4 a.m. We have the privilege of sitting there. We know all the staff at these hotels. They know us. They have a customer, a guest that's going to stay at their hotel. What kind of transportation should we get? Please call Prince Limousine. They're our preferred service. We have no animosity towards any company in this town. We have worked to build our business for us. We do the best we can. We take good care of our people. And yes, we provide very good service, clean cars, chauffeured drivers. We are not a taxi service. We are an executive car service. And we don't want to be classified in that category. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. It's a good point, and I ask if you want to go on with this subject, there is citizen comments at the end, and then we'll also have time to talk about different things too. So some of these items are being held to talk about later. Yes, I was taking some notes too. So if you want to stay for some further talk, don't think that once we're done with 5B that the issues that you brought up are not done. Did you want to talk, sir? You have a few seconds left on your time.
My name's Tony Sampson. I'm the owner of Castle Cab, 111 Bridger Trail. It looks to be that we've become under fire. If you look around you, I request every one of you to ride one of the taxis. Get in one of them cars. Ask you yourself, Mr. Cliff, would you like to ride the Chrysler 300 with a driver that dresses like me? Because we're taxi drivers here. We provide a service. Look at the drivers around you. We've got drivers that wear shorts, flip-flops, muscle shirts, eat in their car. I can't swear what else they do in their car. Smells bad. It's horrible. Would you prefer to ride in a clean cab that presents itself the way I present myself, or would you rather ride with somebody shorts and flip-flops? As to the tipping, the bribing, define tip and define bribe. I would love to enforce it. These guys are contract labor, and it's hard to fight a battle that you can't win. The bottom line is, look at what you're riding with. Look at what you put in behind Charles Barkley, the drummer to Def Leppard. Would you put them in a Crown Vic that smells like feet? Who's to determine that? Vehicle Power's got enough on their plate. They've got all they can handle with what they've got now. Bring back the task force. You as a council member, I would not sit in your chair and do your job because I don't know what I'm doing. But me as a cab owner, I've been in this industry this long, I've got some insight. Jopper's got insight. Roger's got insight. Tawana's got insight. Everybody that's been in this industry has insight. As a driver, as an owner. As a city council member, we wouldn't make the task. We couldn't cover it. Bring back the task force and straighten it out. That's all I have.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, so any other talk on 5B? Okay, so item 5B, we have a motion from Commissioner Jenkins to approve the application for Checker Cab, seconded by Commissioner George. May I have your votes, please? Okay, item is approved. Item 5C, applicant Jeremy Shaw, project manager, Garver LLC, 1016 24th Avenue Northwest, Norman, Oklahoma, 73069, to consider a request for the installation of a traffic signal at the intersection of North Eagle Lane and Northwest 10th Street. Sir, if I could have your name and your address, and you have up to 5 minutes.
My name is Jeremy Staley. Our Garver Norman office is at 1016 24th Avenue Northwest. I'm here to answer any questions you have today over the MAPS 3 trail project that we are consulting for the city of Oklahoma City in relation to that intersection and the impact that the trail has in requiring that intersection. So I'll just make myself available. I don't have any comments to say about it, but I just want to be here available to answer any questions that derive from Mr. Chai's proposal. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Staff, summary, please.
Yes, sir. Jeremy Staley is project manager for Garver LLC. They're contracted with MAPS 3 for a trails project. This project proposes a crossing of Northwest 10th Street at Eagle Lane. The initial request was for a pedestrian activated signal at this location, but it was too close to the intersection, and as a result, we sent it back to them with the request that they do a traffic signal analysis, warrant analysis. They've prepared such a report and is provided in your package. In order to accommodate the roadway crossing needs of the future trail users, the city is encouraging the expansion of the trail system and greater use of it. Staff recommends approval of the signal as proposed.
All right, thank you very much. Do we have a motion concerning item 5C?
I'll move to approve.
We have a motion to approve item 5C from Commissioner Witcher.
Seconded.
And we have a motion seconded by Commissioner Newton. Do we have any talk on this item?
Yes, sir, Mr. Staley. The trail system that's existing as it passes 39th Street goes underneath the bridge at 39th. Why is that not the option for going underneath the bridge at 10th Street?
That's a very good question. There's not available room to go under there like we are under Reno and I-40. There's just not available room. It'd be a lot more costly to cut into the embankment and so forth. So that is why we decided an at-grade crossing was cheaper and more effective.
Okay, so it's really a cost issue?
Yes, yes.
So the cost of the signal light, will that be coming from the MAPS 3 Trails budget?
That is correct. Yes, sir.
Okay, do we have any other comments on item 5C? Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Witcher to approve item 5C, seconded by Commissioner Newton. May I have your votes, please? And motion is approved. Item 5D, Carol Henderson, 6408 Southeast 55th Street, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, 73135, to consider a request to establish all-way stop control at the intersection of Runway Road and Southeast 55th Street. Hi. If I could have your name and your address.
My name is Carol Lee Henderson, Sr. I live at 6408 Southeast 55th Street. And why I asked for the four-way stop sign is because we got the school bus comes in there twice a day to pick up kids and everything. And then nobody wants to slow down for none of it. And the other reason is because we got kids out there during the weekends and everything playing out there on the street, and it's on where they can ride their bicycles and everything. And we can't get nobody to slow down or nothing. They've been trying for 3 years to get that out there to get that stopped, because runway is like runway straight through. They don't care what the speed limit is. Right now, I'm having trouble right now on 55th Street where Farley's Metals a bunch comes over our way, and they speed down this way, my street, and goes over to runway, where they think they don't have to go through their very place to stop every stop sign. Now, I like to do it. Save it. I want to put a speed bump there too, out there in my front yard, by my yard, because I talked to the policeman yesterday about it and everything like that, and I was told from y'all's people up here that they can't do it no more for that. And the other reason is I got the Oklahoma City Fire Department come down runway to go 55th to get into the other area where, because where people park, they park all their cars on the side streets out there. You can't get through there with the police fire department and all that. That's why I'm doing this for the people over there on our side and trying to get the roads fixed up too. We need them wider and everything like that, because you go down through there, you got one come to you, stays right in the middle instead of getting on the side. You got to move off to the side, pass each other. And everything out there on Runway and 55th Street and 57th same way over all the way through. They got pictures and everything up there of it and everything. But that's why I'm here for the 4 stop sign and everything like that, because of the streets and then the school kids and everything. Plus we got a kindergarten right there on 55th Street too.
All right. Thank you very much for your time. May I have the staff summary, please?
Mr. Henderson has submitted a request for an all-way stop control at the intersection of Runway Road and Southeast 55th Street. The combined entering volumes of traffic for that intersection was 700 vehicles a day, which is 43% of the minimum of our city standards. Analysis of the intersection found that none of the city's established criteria for considering an always stop control at a residential intersection were met. In the absence of view obstructions or any other particular hazards on any of the approaches into this intersection, an observed 85th percentile speed of 25 miles an hour on Southeast 55th Street, which is the approach where the highest observed speed would be expected, the low daily traffic entering volume, and no record of collisions at this intersection for the past 3 years, staff does not have cause to recommend approval of an always stop at this intersection. The collision history suggests that the intersection is functioning safely with drivers adhering to the application of ordinary right-of-way rules. Actions at the matter at discretion of the Commission.
Thank you very much. Do we have a motion concerning item 5D?
Make a motion to disapprove.
Okay, we have a motion to disapprove item 5D from Commissioner Hale.
I'll second.
We have a second to disapprove item 5D from Commissioner Witcher. Do you have any talk on this item?
The staff notes suggest that yields might be more appropriate here. I mean, is that under consideration? Can that be something that's recommended here as instead of just outright denying devices here of stopping? Can we suggest?
Well, what's your recommendation about the yields?
Use of a two-way yield sign on Southeast 55th Street is not required but would be appropriate, and we can put that in.
So instead of making it a four-way stop, you have a two-way stop with two yield signs?
No.
No.
It would just be yield on Southeast 55th Street. Runway Road would still be uncontrolled. If you look on your map, Runway Road is the north-south. Southeast 55th is the east-west, and we could put the yields on the east-west approaches.
Okay, so right now, the intersection is open.
Correct.
First at the intersection gets right away.
Yes, sir.
And so instead of the four-way stop, you're saying just make yield signs at the highest volume rate, which would be
You would put the yield signs on the lower volume.
On the
runway.
lower, that's right, I'm sorry, yes. You put the lower, and that's what you're saying. Could we consider that as an option to the disapproval?
Yeah, I think, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Secondly, when you look at the images, and I apologize, Mr. Henderson, I did not get out and view this intersection prior to the meeting, but these images are helpful to me. I'm sure this is all private property, but you've got vegetation that needs to be dealt with here. I don't know if that's how do we, is there any method to help address that for them? Or is that because it is likely private property, they just have to go deal with it on their own? What is it? And I'm new to this, so I'm going to ask a lot of, sounds like silly questions, but I really want to understand what is their remedy if this is denied?
Well, vegetation continues to grow, but we can send the Parks Department does do the right-of-way maintenance, and when there's an issue with site distance, we can go out there and have the Parks Department trim it up within the right-of-way.
Yeah, I can see where if you pull out in the intersection, you could probably see the distance, but if you are pulled back and not entering the intersection yet, 3 directions out of 4 are not clear because of trees. That's problematic.
Okay, so the answer is that they could ask the Park Department to go out there and help on that. So council, question on rules of order. We have a motion to disapprove. If she wants the motioners to reconsider the original motion to say disapprove but do as possible recommended by staff of the yield signs, would we have to redo the motion? Is that how we would do that?
You can amend the motion, or you could vote the motion and then have another
vote off of
new
the same
motion.
thing.
You could do it either way.
Okay. So let me ask Commissioner Hale, would you be willing to
I'd be
amend?
willing to, but it seems like it would be more appropriate to go ahead, disapprove, and then come back with a new motion.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Do we have any, so with the promise that we'll come back and readdress it and make a second motion. So the first motion, is there any other talk on the first motion?
Yeah, there was somebody else wanted to talk, I think. Did you have a statement? Yeah.
Did you want to talk?
I'd like to hear from him.
Okay, make sure to fill out a form when you're done, have your name and address, and you have up to 5 minutes.
Richard Rogers. I live at 6421 Southeast 55th. I'm right at that corner of Runway and 55th Street. And I'm sorry, I'm hard of hearing, so I didn't hear all of the conversation up here, but I appreciate your observations. I understood that you have a pretty clear understanding of the difficulty of that particular corner. The corner itself, especially as you approach on 55th Street to Runway, trying to make a right-hand turn or a left-hand turn on this slide here, slide 11, it's not really a clear picture of how difficult it is to see around that corner. Part one. Part two of that is that the traffic that's coming from the south to the north on Runway Road is totally unimpeded for about 3 blocks. There's nothing stopping it or even slowing it down for that entire distance from 55th Street, a high-speed street coming up that road. Granted, people have a speed limit, but they tend to gather speed the further they have before they're impeded. And so from 59th Street, I apologize, 59th Street all the way to 55th Street, there's really nothing stopping them or slowing them down at all. So consequently, they built up a pretty good head of steam by the time they get to that point in the intersection. If we at least had a north-south stop sign that would stop people at that particular intersection, it would it'd break up that long run that they have going from the south to the north. And I think that would give our children a great deal more safety there. My main concern is for the children there in the neighborhood. We seem to have had, as the petition says, an explosion of children in that neighborhood. My own grandchildren are with me a great deal at my house, and we do have a large concern, especially that north-south route, of the cars coming up over that rise unimpeded and perhaps not seeing a child. And that's our biggest scare right now, is that we'd really like to see something to cause that to slow down, and we'd appreciate your consideration on that. Thank you.
Okay. Do we have any other talk on item 5D? Yes, ma'am?
Are children at play signs, any flashing thing, anything like that, could that be helpful here? Or do children at play signs become invisible?
Could you talk about the children at play sign policy?
Sorry, I don't know the policy.
No?
Children at play signs are something that are purchased by the neighborhood, and they're installed. The city will install them, but the neighborhood would purchase those. They would be installed. There's a whole policy package on that. I could get that to the neighborhood, but that's not something that goes to the commission.
Yeah, one of the things we're talking about is, one of the things that we're talking about is if you want children at play signs, there's a process that you can go through where the neighborhood can buy the signs, but the city will actually put them in for you. So if you wanted to warn people for that issue, that's how that works, and you can work with him on that. Okay? Okay. Any other talk on 5D?
Yeah, I'll just make a quick comment. This is another one of those issues that that is kind of tough for me, just because you have a whole signature sheet of lots of people that live in the neighborhood. They all want it, and yeah, it doesn't meet all the criteria that the city has set up or the national plans for stop signs, but the neighborhood wants it. Yeah, there hasn't been a major accident there, but it's just hard for me to, when a neighborhood comes and wants a stop sign, the city to put in a stop sign for us, say, well, yeah, I know that, well, you can open a book and that all of a sudden now everybody wants a stop sign, but not everybody wants a stop sign. The people that feel they need stop signs want stop signs, and so I guess if I want to vote with 4 stop signs, I guess I want to vote no on this, is that correct?
Right, because the motion that's in front is to
disapprove.
disapprove the request.
Okay.
But you bring up a great point. You know, if a neighborhood wants something, is that something we should look at? Because they're the ones that has to live with it. That's one point. The second point is then what happens when everybody else wants stop sign and the traffic never moves? That's the second part of it. And then the third part is stop signs are not speed control. You know, that's one of the things that we talk about is stop signs are not meant for speed control items. We have speed limits for that. We have enforcement for that. Stopping a car is not a speed limit issue. Yes, go ahead. Yes, please. Both of you, one at a time.
Again, I appreciate Mr. George's observations on that. I would point out that after the little sign went up on the corner talking about the hearing here today, that my own daughter was out last night taking a picture of the sign, and one man stopped and said, boy, I'm really glad to see that. He said, I've been here 18 years and been trying to get this done. And he doesn't live within the 300 feet that we had to get the petition for, which everybody signed, of course. But he lived far down Runway Road and on around the corner, way on down. So I agree, maybe it doesn't meet the criteria. Living there and seeing the difficulty of getting around that corner, I think it's only a matter of time before we do have a tragic accident. And I think it's worth your consideration to consider at least a stop sign. I understand it's not a speed control, but I do know how people drive out there. I understand how people get in a mindset of just going a certain distance, and they get focused on getting down to where they're living. And if they had a stop sign that would at least to break that up, that little long drive up, it would be helpful. The streets are narrow. They're old. They're blacktop with no curbs, so they've narrowed as the grass has grown in. There's little room for maneuvering if a child should dart out in front of someone. Again, maybe it doesn't meet the criteria, but I wish you would consider it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sir, did you want to come back up again?
My name's Carol Henderson. I live 6408 Southeast 55th Street. But he was talking about they need to have 2 stop signs, north and south, coming up that road because the kids are running down through there in a hurry to get to wherever, and they don't give a hoot about nobody down through there. You get there and you get there to 55th and you want to turn and you got a car come straight at you when you turn and everything. There's no way you can get around until you pull off to the side over there. Just get by, we'll let them by. And we're going to have accidents there if we don't get nothing done to it because the way these young kids are driving right now out there. We got people just wanting to hurry and don't give a nobody. They'll get up there on 55th, they'll get there right on around and don't know if there's another car coming this way at them. Because they've got all that bushes and everything right there. You got all that bush. It's blocking most of the way.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Do we have any further comment? Yes, ma'am. Comment? Okay. Do you have any other? You have something?
No, I was just going to call for the vote.
We're just making sure we don't have any further comments.
Will you restate the motion on the table?
Yep, we're going to, yep. Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Hill, seconded by Commissioner Wisher, to disapprove the establishment of an all-way stop control at the intersection of Runway Road and Southeast 55th Street. Can I have your votes, please? Okay. The item is disapproved. Okay. Okay. Now we have a motion from Commissioner Yonkel. Would you like to make your motion, please?
Well, it's going to sound different than what I just talked about a minute ago. I'm a petition that's fully signed resonates real strongly with me. I would like to motion that at a minimum they get a 2-way stop on the street where there is the heaviest traffic. That we also send out assistance from the Parks Department to deal with this vegetation problem. I think even with stops on 2 ways, the vegetation still has to be dealt with.
So
That's my motion.
Your motion from Commissioner Yonkel is to install a 2-way stop system on Runway Road, which is the higher
The north-south.
vehicle, which is the north-south road.
I want to confirm that that would be, is the north-south is the most problematic, right? That's, yeah.
Okay. Got it.
Yes.
Okay. So we have a motion from Commissioner Yonkel to install 2-way stop signs on Runway Road. Do we have a second to that motion? Stop signs.
Stop.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a second from Commissioner George. Do we have any talk on this item?
Runway Road is classified as local, but it's going to act as like a collector street. And so this would be really the wrong way to go, to put stop controls on a collector street. The stop signs are to establish right-of-way, and you'd be giving right-of-way to 55th Street, and that's...
To the lower volume.
Yeah.
I don't think it is a collector street.
It's not classified as such, but I think it serves that role.
It's not a collector, though.
Any other comments from up here on the circle? Sir, would you like to say something?
Sorry, I forgot to give my name a while ago. Richard Rogers, 6421 Southeast 55th. I'm sorry, I didn't understand what Mr. Richard was saying about it being a collection street. I'm not familiar with the term. And, maybe
A collector street generally would have other local streets depositing onto it so that the traffic volumes on a collector street are higher than on local streets. And that proves out in the traffic counts from the report, is that Runway Road serves as a collector street as people travel from the residential neighborhood towards 59th Street.
And that's significant.
Because the purpose of a stop sign is to establish right-of-way. 2 people come to the intersection at the same time, who gets to go? And it's not appropriate to establish right-of-way to a local street over a collector street.
I think I understand what you're saying. Now, I don't know about that. I'm not an expert in that area. Maybe it'd help to know that 55th Street is kind of a collection street of its own, in that if you look at the bigger map, it's the only one of 3 routes into a big neighborhood that's called Frolic Meadow Estates. As you look there at the red circle, you'll see that off of 59th Street, there are only 3 streets entering into that neighborhood. One of them is Runway, there's Ventura, and then there's Greenview. 55th Street is used by a great number of people.
Sure, but none of the streets that are going on to 59th Street are 55th Street. So the logic is that you're going to...
Correct, yes.
You're going to go on Runway to get to 59th.
Right. I guess I'm kind of visualizing this as in the way of like a river or something along that line, maybe collecting into a certain point. And whereas I understand your point, but a great number of people will avoid using Ventura and Greenview, which are the 2 main ones coming off of 59th Street, to access Frolic Meadow Estates, that larger neighborhood, to the west. They'll do that because, quite simply, Ventura and 59th Street have a lot of cars that will be parked in the streets. I know I do that myself, even if I didn't live there. My own brother, who lives down on Greenview, goes through runway to collect himself down, if you will, to the end of that very big neighborhood. So in a sense, it sort of collects traffic too, if it helps the point.
Well, yeah, being the higher volume, it would be more of that type of road. Being the higher volume, it would be that type of road. Just what we're talking about.
Right, I understand the technical, I understand technically, yeah, that maybe that helps in picturing, some of them. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
May I ask, Mr. What's your question?
Of course, yeah, please. Yeah. This is
For
open talk.
education, help me here. On a collector street, if a stop is put, does it almost create an unsafe condition if cars are stacking up where they should not be?
I think it's a better question for staff, but I think that just in following the logic of establishing right-of-way, if we're going to put any stop controls at that intersection, they ought to be either on 55th Street or all four.
Typically, you would not expect to find a stop sign on a collector roadway. You would expect to find it on the side streets feeding into it, so you're violating the driver expectation. But with this neighborhood, you've got the two intersections, and it's pretty decent sight distance, so coming up to it, you would see it, but Mr. Witcher's correct. It would be inappropriate to put a stop sign on a collector road. It violates driver expectation.
Is that your staff summary on the motion?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. Okay, any other talk on this item? Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Yonkel, seconded by Commissioner George, to establish a two-way stop signs on Runway Road. May I have your votes, please? Item is disapproved. Okay?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
If we could entertain another motion, I'd
yes, sir.
Like to move that we accept staff's recommendation and establish a two-way yield control at Southeast 55th.
Okay. So we have a motion from Commissioner Schuline.
Seconded.
Seconded by Commissioner Newton to take the staff recommendation of to yield on Southeast 55th Street. Correct? Is that your motion? That's the second. Okay, do we have any talk on this item?
One thing I might think about on this is that it creates even more of a runway now, more runway. Because now that they're coming up, now they know these people have to yield for them, and so now let's just keep the throttle down. And so I don't know. It sounds like it ought to be better than not having it, but then again, I don't know the actual outcome. I'm not sure if it will be.
Yes, sir.
On the research the city did, what was the maximum speed that you found in the percentile?
85th percentile on Southeast 55th was 20 miles an hour. When I went out there to take these pictures, I stood in the middle of the intersection for 5 minutes before I saw my first car. When the school bus arrived, it dropped off about 6 kids at the intersection. This was around 3:30 in the afternoon. The one car followed and picked up 2 of the kids and then drove off.
And on runway, what was the?
But the 85th percentile in the report is given as being on 55th. Was there speed observed on runway?
The speed was not observed on runway, but when I went out there to measure the sight distances, I had the laser rangefinder and a speed gun, and I recorded 3 vehicles 18 to 20 miles an hour.
Okay, any other talk on this item? Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Schuline, seconded by Commissioner Newton, to establish 2 yields on Southeast 55th Street. Can I have your votes, please? Okay, item is approved.
And if it's possible to have selective enforcement out in that area?
Already wrote it down.
Figured you had.
Enforcement.
We're familiar with that street.
And then also the Park Department to go out there and check all that line of sight and the vegetation.
Another remark
Yes,
is the
ma'am.
lighting concern. Is that something that the citizens take up with OG&E? What's the process for them to address poor lighting on this?
There's an existing streetlight at the intersection already, where they said there was no light, but there's an existing streetlight there. I'm not sure if it works. If it doesn't, we can call OG&E, have them check, and if they'd like additional lighting, send us a letter.
So does the light work at that intersection? So it's a private, it's not a city or OG&E.
Part of the claim is that there's poor lighting.
Yeah, council is, if it aims to the street, it's the cities. If it aims to the property, then it's the property owners. Well, that looks like it's aiming to the street, so it would be an OG&E issue. If you could look later tonight, and if it's not on, it looks like it's an OG&E. If they give you a hard time that they say it's not theirs, could you please let us know? Okay. All right, yeah, if you could let them know. Very good, thank you. Good point. Well, and if it's not a good light, if it's a very old light, you know how they wear out, maybe it just needs a new bulb to brighten up the world. Okay, very good. All right, we have item 6, comments from citizens. We have a lot of comments. Is there anything else that somebody would like to say on the issues of the day? Okay, very good. Okay, reports and other items from traffic commissioners. Mr. Witcher. Commissioner Witcher.
Nothing this month, sir.
Okay, Commissioner Littlefield.
I'll be happy to keep you all busy for a few minutes.
Okay.
If you could look on your monitors, Councilman Shadid has been visiting with me about the intersection of Belle Isle, Northwest Expressway, and where I-44 crosses over. This is probably one of the most dangerous intersections in Ward 2, if not in the city. And Councilman Shadid asked me to look into this a little bit, and I've had comments from a citizen that if you are traveling southbound on Belle Isle Boulevard, which is where Walmart and the big box stores are, and you approach T-Bone into Northwest Expressway, headed south, there is right on red permitted there at any time. The red line that I tried to draw with a very cheap pen is a left exit ramp coming off of I-44 westbound. You have a choice of going eastbound to where Hornseed used to be, or you have a choice of going westbound, and it is literally a shoot like a shot out of a gun. It is barricaded with concrete. The line of sight distance from that right on red opportunity to where that chute opens up and those cars come flying out of there, I'll bet it's less than 150 feet. And one of the issues there is foliage, volunteer trees and things that have grown up there. Even with that absent, the concrete barriers may be causing a serious line of sight issue there. There have been 2 fatalities at that intersection recently. And Councilman Shadid and the citizen asked me to bring this up today. So that's item 1. And
Okay, well, so let me ask something. Line of sight for staff on a right turn on red, you would probably consider the speed of that exit ramp and the sight distance as if it was a stop sign kind of thing?
Sight distance is based on the speed of the road on which you're having to make your decision on, which would be the speed limit on Northwest Expressway.
Okay, so you could take this information and go out there and do a line of sight, and if it would be inappropriate to have a right turn on red, you could make that change or make because is that city or is that probably county, state?
my understanding is Northwest Expressway is city. I don't know about the exit ramp.
Well, you'd have to look at that. So you would go out there and look and see if the line of sight's correct. If it's wrong and the right turn's not appropriate, then whoever owns that area you would provide that information to them. Okay.
Correct. Belle Isle Boulevard, I believe, the city.
Okay.
And so that's where the right turn restriction would be.
Mm-hmm.
So we could do that.
Okay. So you'll go look at it based off of their
We can look at
request.
that.
Okay. Yes, sir?
Great, thank you very much. Another topic is Northwest 39th Street and Barnes Avenue. Northwest 39th Street and Barnes from approximately Pennsylvania, headed west on 39th Street to approximately Young's, is a combination of a entertainment, restaurant, retail sort of district that is growing. Over the course of normal business operations, hundreds, if not more, pedestrian patrons cross back and forth across 39th Street between Pennsylvania Avenue and Young's, but more prominently at Barnes Avenue. I was over there the other night. There appears to be street lights like maybe every 45 feet. Ironically, the street light at Barnes isn't working, and the street light at Young's and 39th isn't working. I advised this group to did a phone call to OG, and he would probably correct that. But one of the things this group, and it's predominantly patrons, are discussing is that it's looking like there may be a bond issue coming up sometime in the near future, and wanted to get involved in grassroots efforts of getting a streetscape kind of thing going there that might recognize the safety of the patrons because of the nature of the business and how these folks are going back and forth across the street. But they may want to consider something sooner. It may take some time to get something like that implemented. So they're meeting with the business owners, they're meeting amongst themselves. There may be some discussion about an application for a four-way stop or a formal crosswalk of some kind that we might be looking at from Ward 2 at that site in the near future. Just wanted to let you all know.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Newton.
Nothing today, sir.
Okay. Commissioner Hale.
Nothing today.
Commissioner Schuline.
Nothing, sir. Thank you.
Commissioner Jenkins. Commissioner George.
Yeah, just on the taxi cab issue, the city staff sure has, being new to the commission, I'm not sure how the city has set up how many cabs the city needs. Obviously, the city's growing, and the need for more taxis and town car type service would seem to be needed. And
well, that's
since
a very
I've
good
been
question.
on
Right.
the commission, we've had basically taxi approval on, I think, just about every meeting. And so I don't know if I heard somebody say a task force that was set up and I guess disbanded.
Well, what happened 4 years ago or so was we had Yellow that was running about 220 cabs, and then A1, I believe it was, came in, and they had some cabs, but A1 had a problem that we had to address, which opened up a whole bunch of other taxi issues.
Right.
And so we had this task force for about 2 years, and we worked through the issues, and what came about from the task force was we want to make getting a taxi license easy so anybody who wanted to and had the means could get it. And with the understanding that the market would drive.
Yeah.
And so when we heard all these comments about it's now being saturated, that's where we wanted to be. We wanted the market to drive how many cab companies, how many taxis were out in there. You know, if every taxi is earning $1,000 a year, you probably won't have a lot of, they'll have to wash out so that everybody could have a good living. And so we wanted not the city and the government to establish.
That makes perfect sense to me. I just wonder at some point you have to revisit it, you know, and I don't know how long that's.
Well,
because as the smaller cabs get run down before they finally go out of business, it creates all kinds of issues. And so are we there that we need to say, you know, I don't know. I just wonder if we should, as a commission, look at it, maybe with some kind of extra meeting.
Well,
or
and that's
at least
what's
I can
happening.
get my-
What we're seeing here is some issues of the competition is coming up that we didn't think about. Things like making an agreement with the hotel, whether through compensation or through other ways, to go past the ready line that we've established. We've established these taxi stands, so when those hotels need service, they just have to blow the whistle and somebody comes up. That was our intent of the taxi stands. Now that we're seeing these kind of things, and that was the issue that I was coming up with, that I took out of this whole time here, is it okay to have cabs, companies, or independent cab drivers working for a company have a relationship with a business that they get the call compared to first come, first serve off a ready line? And that's kind of to you guys, and I know you were taking notes too of all this, and to the council, and to as we go through this process of looking at Section 56. Is that something that's legal? It's what we want? Is that something that's right? Can they do that, or is it a first come, first serve? Is that what you're? And I think that's where it's at right now.
That would just be an item on an agenda. I think that there's a lot of those things that should be discussed, and at some, with the city preparing information for us on different, what different cities are doing.
Well,
Some
and see,
cities,
right,
there's
and,
a lot of different ways.
and that's what we did on the task force when we rewrote on all that.
That's all.
So yeah, that's one of the things I think that we want to talk about and think about, and have our staff think about is this okay that these cab companies or cab drivers are having a relationship with the different businesses? And that goes into the next one, talking about this limo that's providing a car service, waiting outside looking for rides at a business that they have a working relationship. The limos, as we saw it as, was you call up, you get a limo, you pay the X rate per hour, and that's the cost. Is it okay that a limo company gets a relationship with a business, parks there, and if somebody wants a service, then they're the ones being used? That seems to be more of a taxi, just a general thought, that seems to fall more in line with a taxi of a customer needs a product, and a taxi's call to provide that product. A limo is a phone call, set up a time, 12 o'clock, have the limo here for 1 hour of service. I'm not sure I've ever heard the term car service and a car dedicated to a hotel that just sits there and waits for a customer. That to me is a ready line issue with a taxi. And I would ask that you look at it and the staff looks at it to see if this is a violation, to see if this is a violation or not of how we've established how the city will run. And I know you were taking notes to do just that. Yes, sir.
I'm very curious about that, and in addition, I'm curious if a prearranged ride is made, if a taxi stand is being used for that purpose. That would be...
Parking, you mean?
Exactly.
Oh, yeah, well, that has been talked about. Only taxis can park in
Only
a taxi
taxis
stand.
waiting for fare in order to show up to use that service.
Right.
It was what would seem fair to me. If there were a prearranged ride and the provider is using the taxi stand waiting for that person to show up, I would be interested in knowing if that's going on.
That's a violation, or if they're on a curb that's not parked correctly, or if they're in a loading zone. All those kind of things would be inappropriate. If they have a 12 o'clock scheduled pickup at this one place, then at 12 o'clock the vehicle arrives, the pickup occurs, and it goes. That's the limo service as we see it, a call for service. A wait for service is a taxi service, is my basic understanding, that I'm asking the staff and our people to look at. Ma'am?
This is probably not the time or place. It needs to be in a car service, taxi, limo, dedicated conversation. But an element here is it seems like this is encroaching on the private business of the hotel to make a choice how they want to operate. services to their guests. So restricting a car service, if that's how the hotel chooses to operate, its mechanism to deliver a person from their hotel to someplace else.
And it may be legal, and it may be authorized in the wording that we have now. I'm not sure, because I never heard it through the task force that we had, and since then, of a vehicle waiting at an establishment for an unscheduled pickup, just waiting. That seems to be past what we've written and how we operate. And that's where I'm saying, that we would need to look at it, and that's all I'm asking, is that we look at it. Yes, ma'am.
As we discussed this, I had some concerns that we make sure that we separate the concerns. One is there might be too many cabs, but do we say there are too many restaurants if somebody wants to make application? You know, it's their responsibility to determine whether it's going to be profitable or not. Then I think we have to put that to one issue, then go to another one in terms of, are they violating what they were licensed to do? And that's just my concern.
Yes, ma'am, that's exactly right. And there's two of the violations that we heard today, possible issues of one, paying to get to get the call from the bellhop, and two, having a vehicle stand there that's not a taxi waiting for a ride. Not to say that it is. Please just work with all the staff and let's make sure that it's right, just to make sure that we're doing everything the way that we want it. Okay, just a second. Come on up, please. Usually we don't but it was such a hot issue today, we want to make sure we hear everything before we go. So go ahead, name and address.
Chuck Abdulali, 5317 Willowcliff Road, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Car service is a service provided in every city in the United States, except for Oklahoma City. When I came here to try to open a car service, there is no car service. What is a car service?
Well, exactly, and that's why we're saying we need to have everybody look at it to see where does it fit in, and is it what we want, and if it's something that we want, then we'll write it in.
Car service is basically, if you have a building, let's say Devin, and you got 100 people that in and out. What you do, you talk to the general manager or the management, you tell them about your service, and you tell them what you expect. You assure them water, newspaper, clean driver, and you tell them, I'll work with you, I'll make sure that every time your person, VIP, or whoever's going to come out, they will have a car ready for them. And that's how you establish a relationship.
And what we're saying is we're not sure that that's something that Oklahoma City allows at this moment. We're not sure. And we're going to have these people, the experts, look at it. Thank you very much. Okay. Any other, okay, we need staff. Do you have anything? You have a couple,
We have a number of yield controls that were installed. Denver Northeast 59th Street, Parsons and Southwest 5th, and Ochoa Drive and Northwest 185th Place and Northwest 185th Street. And no parking restrictions anytime have been placed on Oklahoma Avenue between Northeast 14th and Northeast 16th Street.
Okay, thank you very much. Captain, do you have anything for us? Council, anything else? Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
Motion to adjourn?
We have a motion from Commissioner Newton to adjourn, and we have a second from Commissioner Jenkins. And can I have your votes, please? Yep. Oh, you turned it all off. All right, and we're out of here. Okay.